Hey. Uh-oh. That's okay. Oh, she left her thing. First name Jon, Jon. Middle name Victor, Viktor, and then last name Corpuz, as in zebra. I live in New York City. I've lived here since I was in high school, sophomore in high school. So it's been 6 years. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. Tampa is a good city for relaxing. In terms of finding a lot of opportunities to pursue a career in the arts in a bigger way, it's a bit limiting. But I think if I had grown up in somewhere like Los Angeles or New York, I would A, take it for granted, but also B, not really perhaps have the drive I do now because it's such a culture difference. I think it's pretty safe to say mostly all, if not all, cultures of the world are represented within one city and have their central places, whether that be in Brooklyn or Queens or the Bronx or Staten Island or Manhattan. But the amount of culture that you can experience and the people coming in and out of the city every day, the energy is consistently shifting around where the city is never the same and it's consistently changing. So it never ever feels stagnant, where I feel like growing up in suburbia, it could sometimes feel a bit stagnant and homogenous. Yeah, I've always known I'm not heterosexual since as far as back as I can remember. It's interesting because I think the labels, there's a certain performativity or expectation of you when you stick a certain label on yourself. So if I were to say I'm gay, then people expect A, B, and C. So I'm not straight. There's a singer named Rostam. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was in Vampire Weekend and now he does his own solo stuff. He describes himself as not straight, so I kind of like that idea of like, I guess if I'm gonna put myself more in a box, I'd say gay, but I don't know. I think there's tropes that come with these labels, so yeah, I guess that's how it fit in. Yeah, and I think all of us are navigating the constructs of gender. As Sasha Velour says, gender is a construct, tear it apart. So yeah, I mean, we're all conditioned to believe gender performs a certain way. And as we grow into our individualism, how we unravel that is, I think, a lifelong process. For all of us, I think, because it can shift day to day, how feminine or masculine we feel depending on the day. So it kind of speaks to my personality, I think, because I wasn't ready and I put my ambition over my readiness to come out, which I don't know that I recommend. But there was a revival of Godspell that happened around like 2011 on Broadway. And Ken Davenport, who's the producer, had this marketing ploy where he cast a mini cast of Godspell to perform a medley after one of the shows to boost ticket sales. He wanted, I think, the families to come into the show and be posting about their kid that got to perform on Broadway for a day. And then hopefully he thought that would, make a viral video and spark some type of resurgence of attention for the show. So we heard about that opportunity, and I think I was kind of obsessed with that soundtrack at the time, or cast recording. People don't like the word soundtrack at the time, and we just thought we should audition. We were still in Tampa, and yeah, so we were gonna go, And I don't exactly remember what it was that I was doing, but I think I had been acting out with my parents. And they weren't going to take me to the audition. From, like, we were doing a road trip from Tampa to New York. And I wanted to go on the audition. So I was like, I've been acting out because I'm gay. And I was crying, I like wrote them a letter and stuff. And then they let me go on the audition, and then I got it. I played Minnie Telly, Lee Young, who's also a Broadway actor. Yeah, Gaten Matarazzo, who's now on Stranger Things, played Minnie Jesus in that. There are lots of Broadway kids who like went on to be in Matilda and Christmas Story. Like, it was a really great group of people, kids. But yeah, if I hadn't done that, I would have not gone to the audition. It would have just been my sister, and she didn't end up getting it. So yeah, I don't know. And from that opportunity, my parents were like, oh, there's more stuff in New York, and they've been very supportive of me pursuing a career in the arts. So they tried it out for a summer living in New York to see if I was serious about living here. And then after that summer, I started my sophomore year of high school in New York City. So if I hadn't done that Godspell thing, or hadn't come out to do the Godspell thing, then I might not be in New York as soon as I was, which is kind of wild. It was cathartic for sure. There was a lot of fear associated with it too, because just coming from a traditional Filipino household, Catholicism is a huge part of the culture. So the rhetoric is kind of that's against Catholicism, the wishes of God, the sin, etc., etc. So all of that was kind of there. So there was a lot of fear associated with it, but it felt liberating, I think. But I don't know that it was so much joyful liberating as just a huge weight that I felt I was carrying, that I felt like I could unload despite the rushed circumstances. I felt it was something that I could take off my shoulders. Coming out is, I go back and forth with the idea of coming out, because in my head, it's only someone's business if you want it to be their business. So you shouldn't feel obligated to do anything that you don't want to do. And yeah, I would say do it whenever you feel like it. If you feel ready, then go for it. But don't feel like you have to do anything, because you don't have to do anything. You should just be doing it because you want to do it. And take as much time as you need. Being a queer, yeah, I guess I like the word queer. Non-straight is a bit precarious, so queer is an umbrella term that I enjoy, because it encompasses a lot of things, and it's more communal than like, because even within the gay community, you're either a twink or an otter or a bear or whatever, and it's just like there's so many labels, which I don't know that are so helpful. So anyway, I enjoy being queer and Asian American is what I'd call myself, because despite the outsiderdom and the oppression I feel I've dealt with, I think it's given me, because as a queer person and also as an Asian American person, both of those identities you kind of feel on the outside of, you feel like you're on the fray of a larger group. Even the singular identity of being Asian American, you kind of don't know where you fit into American culture, because in history books we're taught about, of course, African Americans who were here, and even I'm a music student, so we're taught about Latin music. But Asian Americans are kind of like, when did we get here? And you have to seek that out for yourself. And then being a queer person, there's always that feeling that you're not part of the norm. So being a part of those communities on top of each other has given me a lot of hardship, but also because of that, I think has given me a lot of wisdom. and perspective. I think I'm able to zoom out from any situation and have a broader perspective of how I can deal with it, because I've dealt with a lot early on. And I think it's just made me more observant, because with those identities, you always feel like you're watching other people and how they function within the world, but also everything that comes out of your mouth, everything that you're doing, you feel like self-conscious about it, so you feel like you're also watching yourself. And as an artist, I feel like that's sometimes helpful, because then you can be self-aware of how you're performing within any situation. So I think it's given me a lot of interesting perspectives that I wouldn't have if I were someone else. It makes me unique, I think. So that's, in a nutshell, what I like about it. I really, really believe in this musical that we're doing called Interstate, that's happening at New York Musical Festival. And we're just coming from rehearsal, so yeah, I feel good. I play Dash, who is one of the main characters, and he and his best friend Adrian are in a band together, and they're traveling the country, touring their music, and kind of follows their relationship along the way, how it falters and comes back together, all of that stuff. I would say what this show gave me is evidence that there are other people, especially artists, who are creating work by and for people like me, but also that have a more universal message for any consumer. And as an artist, it feels a lot of the time with my identities that there's no one out there who gives a shit or is like me. So what I would say is, A, that we have to create that evidence for ourselves as artists, and B, that there are people out there and we have to find them. So that would be my message to anyone who, specifically Asian American queer people, if they feel like they're alone in what they want to achieve or pursue. There are communities, and sometimes we have to create them. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you. So rambly. I apologize.